Hi guys, Jimbo here, the driving test guy in New South Wales, helping you pass your New South Wales driving test first go, hopefully. Okay folks, it's August 2021 and in Sydney, Greater Sydney, New South Wales, we are in lockdown because of COVID. Not much fun, but it is what it is. However, I'm in my new studio, I've moved house, I've got a green screen set up and I can be a bit more creative with my videos now and hopefully that'll help you learn a bit more how to pass your New South Wales driving test first go, hopefully. Okay, folks, so I've been promising speed management for a little while. We're continuing with the How to Pass Your New South Wales P1 Driving Test series. And basically with this topic, I'm going to talk about how the testing officer in New South Wales marks your speed management during your driving test. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the actual test sheet you get at the end of your driving test. In this section here, that's where they put all the positive and negative scores that they're doing while they're assessing you, okay? Up here, that's the categories of the assessments, and the one that's relevant today is the S column, which stands for speed management. Let's zoom up on that a little bit. Okay, so you can see here we've got a tick and we've got a circle. Tick is a positive score, your percentage goes up. A circle, which I'm going to call a circle error, is a negative score, your percentage comes down. Now they do approximately about 105 of these checks. 90% of them have to be ticks in order to get a pass, okay? So we're going to focus on today is how to not get the circle error, or not get too many of them, in relation to speed management. Right out? So yeah, you need 90% ticks to pass, okay? Which actually sounds a bit, but the way that the maths works is you can actually make about 11 circle errors, which is quite a few, before it becomes a problem getting below 90%. Okay, so the fail items with speed management, the first one I'm going to look at today is the F5, which is there. That's basically the fail item where you have exceeded the speed limit. Once you do that, you're out. Second fail item is the F7, and that's about there. And that's the one where you've created a dangerous situation. So if that happens, again, you're out. And the third fail item I'm going to look at today is the F9. Now the F9 one, which is about there, this is the one where you have not taken due care or exercised due care to avoid an accident. So basically, you haven't been careful enough in a situation and there's a potential for an accident to happen or something to happen. The examiner said, yeah, that wasn't careful, and they issue the F9 fail. Okay, so let's go back and talk about the circle error, okay, in that S column. Now, when the examiner's marking in that S column, circle errors and ticks and that, there's three main areas that they're assessing you in, okay? The first area is how you manage your speed and maintain your crash avoid space. Now, crash avoid space, which is a topic on its own, but basically this is when you're following a vehicle, say we're the blue car and we're following the green car, okay? You need to keep 3 seconds back as you're following him. So what that means is if the green car goes past a tree, then there's going to be 1001, 1002, 1003 seconds, at least 3 seconds before you get to the same tree. So if the guy in front stops suddenly, you got a few seconds to react, get on the brake, and hopefully have a better outcome and not smack up the back of him. Okay, now your examiner is going to assess this. So if it's looking like you're getting a little bit under 3 seconds, getting a little bit close, they're watching to see that you manage your speed. You slow down a little bit and you rebuild that space. If that happens, you'll get the positive score, a tick, your score goes up. Now, if you keep the same speed and you get closer and closer, you're then going to get the negative score, the circle error, and your score is going to go down. And if you continue to get too close to the vehicle, then it'll end up becoming an F18 fail. Okay, so that's your following distance. Okay, now, the crash avoid space when you stop behind a car in traffic. So we're the car A, the black car here, and we're stopping behind that car there. Now, this distance that you want to keep initially is meant to be about 1.5 car lengths, okay? Now, the best way to work this out is exactly in this diagram. If you stop here and you can see over your bonnet, the rear tyre, the car in front, okay? So that's a great way to work that out, and that'll give you the positive score, a tick, score goes up. If you end up initially getting too close to the car in front, right up on his bumper, you'll get a circle error, a negative score, your score goes down, okay? Now, let's move on. Okay, so the second area that the examiner's marking you in that S column with speed management is situations where something's happening up front which requires you to slow down. Okay, now the first example is when your vision is limited. Okay, now generally it's recommended that you can always see 5 seconds ahead when you're driving. So that means that the speed you're going, the distance that you would travel over 5 seconds, you need to see that at least ahead. Okay, now there's situations when that can get limited. Now the classic examples here, come up to a crest, which is like a little bit of a hill. As you come up to the hill, you can't see over it. You might be coming up to a curve, around a bend, dips, and around corners. Now there could be anything hidden. It could be some kids playing, could be a car on the wrong side of the road. What the examiner wants to see you do is that you notice that your vision is limited and you slow down a bit. You slow down a bit, you'll get the positive score. Tick, your score goes up. Okay? If you do not slow, you'll basically be getting the negative score. Your score goes down. Okay? Okay, so let's now look at an example of having limited vision. Okay, so if you have a look in the video here, I'm driving along and I'm coming up to a bit of a curve, and what's not helping with my vision is these parked cars because the curve's bending behind it. So I've slowed down a little bit. Now the examiner will notice that and they'll give you the positive score. And you can also see here the van, it's blocking my view around that's blocking the view with the curve. I'm keeping my speed down. So I'm ready if something goes wrong, I can deal with it. And once I've cleared, I can see a bit better, I can pick the speed up. Okay, now if I didn't slow down there at all, the examiner will give you the negative score and your score would go down. Okay, so the next area that may come up that requires you to slow down a little bit, that the examiner will mark, is when your vision is reduced. Okay, so it's not like it's a permanent curve or crest that's always there. Something that's come up unplanned is now reducing your vision. So classic examples are rain, fog, and smoke. Now, if you look at this example coming up, we've got some rain. You can see your vision is being reduced because of the rain. So the examiner wants you to slow down a little bit. That'll give you the positive score. The score will go up. Now, if you didn't slow there a little bit and you kept at the same speed, they'll give you the negative score and your score will go down. Okay, now, the next example of a situation where we're required to slow down a little bit is when we don't have enough space either side of our car. Now, they call this buffer space. You need to have at least 1 meter either side. And where you don't have that, you need to slow down a little bit. So if something happens, you can deal with it better. So the classic example, if you look at the example here, I'm coming up to a section of road where it's a bit narrow and there's parked cars either side there and over in there. So I've slowed down a bit. In case someone opens their door, I can deal with it better. So I slowed down. Again, the examiner notices that and they give you a positive score. Had I gone through that gap a little bit quick, they would give me the negative score. Score goes down. Okay, now, next area where we're required to slow down a bit is when the road surface is varied. Okay, it could be a wet road, bit slippery, gravel, bit slippery, or it could be a traffic calming device, such as a speed bump or a chicane. Now, in this example coming up, you can see there's a speed bump. Okay, now this black car had to slow down a bit, simple as that, positive score. Had I gone a bit quick over the speed bump, negative score. Score goes down. Okay, now, while we're talking about speed bumps, this classic speed bump sign here, I always get asked questions when in lessons is, okay, it's recommended, do I need to do 25 for my driving test? Okay, well it goes back to what I just said. If you want the positive score, you do 25, okay? If you went over the speed bump, say 35, smacked it a bit, even though technically you're under the speed limit, you won't get a fail on them, but they will give you the circle error if you're not close to that speed. So remember, watch out for these recommended speed signs and get close to the speed that it recommends. Okay, now we're moving on to the third category of areas that your examiner is marking you with speed management. This is how you maintain traffic flow. Okay, now the first point here is you generally want to be within 20 Ks of the posted speed limit, which is pretty generous. I generally like to be within 5 Ks of the limit, unless there's some hazard or something slowing us down. So you can be within 20 Ks, but they don't assess this in a residential area or narrow streets and that, okay? So that's the first point. Second point is driving consistent with the prevailing traffic and weather conditions. So if it's a bit of a gridlock traffic, slow traffic, that's fine. You can be a lot slower. Or it's raining, as we saw before, be a bit slower. Don't need to be within 20 Ks of the speed limit. Okay, drive at a speed appropriate for curves and no uncomfortable side roll. So when you go around bends and that, not only are you want to slow because you can't see, but it's got to be comfortable. You don't want your passengers hanging on like this as you go around a bend and that. So just slow down to a speed that's comfortable. Okay, the last one is driving within the legal speed limit. Okay, so this will also encroach on the fail items as well, which I'll talk about in a sec. Also note in New South Wales, learners are limited to 90 k's per hour. So be careful in a 100 zone. Still don't go over 90. Okay, on a test, that'll be a problem. Okay, so that completes how examiners marking in that S column with the circles and the ticks. Okay, so let's talk about the fail items now. As I mentioned before, there's three I'm going to look at. The F5, exceeding the speed limit. The F7, causing a dangerous situation. And the F9, not exercising due care to avoid an accident. As I said before, the fail items are in this section here. And with the F5, exceeding the speed limit. As you drive, the examiner is going to be watching your speedo all the time. And if you do go over the speed limit, you're out. Now, sometimes it's a bit hard for the examiner to see the speedo. So if they actually can't see the speedo, well then they actually don't issue the F5 unless it's ridiculously obvious you're over the speed limit. But yeah, I like to keep about 5 k's under speed limit. So if you get a bit close, you've got a bit of a buffer space there. So just make sure that you're keeping under the posted speed limit. Now, what was mean by the posted speed limit is this sign here with the red circle. Here's another example like the school zone one, but they've got to have the red circle, okay? That's a posted limit. So that's the 80, that's the school zone. With the school zone, notice it's only relevant on a school day in those times there. So 8 till 9:30 in the morning, it's 40, or 2:30 to 4, it's 40, but outside those times, it's 60. Okay, so the most common place I see the F5 fail come up is in the lower speed limits. 40 zones and not often 50s as well. You're over, particularly in an automatic car, you're over in no time, okay? So you just got to be very vigilant about the speed in the lower speed limits. I also see it when you go from, say, a higher speed limit to a lower one, like 80 to 60, where you got to make sure you're under 60 before you enter the 60 zone, or the other way around, going from 60 to 80. You mustn't pick up and go over 60 till you get to the 80. Okay, so I've got an example coming up. Let's have a look at it. This is an example. We're in 60 zone, and there's an 80 zone coming up. Okay, and you can see my speed up there. You can see my speed in this video here. Okay, so currently we're 60. Now 80 is coming up. Now all these cars here, they're going to see the 80. They all start exceeding 60 before the 80. Now if that's your driving test, you're out. So we need to sort of maintain 60 until the 80. So you have a look in a second, the 80 is coming up. And all the other cars, this one here, they're all tearing off. So there's your 80. I've just paused it. You can see until then, you need to keep under 60. Okay, so we get going. Now we're in the 80. You can see on my speedo up there that we're now starting to pick the speed up and all is fine. Okay, so remember that. Okay, let's move on to the next fail item. The next fail item is the F7 fail, causing a dangerous situation. Okay, now that's quite easy to do with speed. I've got two examples here. The first one is increasing your speed while you're being overtaken. So as an L driver, we're getting overtaken all the time. So if someone's overtaken you and you pick up the speed beside him, then he can't get back in. That's going to create a dangerous situation, and the examiner will issue the F7. Now, the other one is this when you're just driving way too fast. Okay, now this next video is a guy that's driving very dangerously on a freeway, and I highly advise that you never ever drive like this. Let's have a look at him. You can see he's going way too fast. He's dangerously changing lane, weaving in and out. Now, this is exactly what I do not want you to do ever when you drive, because eventually this guy here, he's going to have an accident, and that doesn't want to be you. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so the third and last fail item I want to look at is the F9. Fail to exercise due care to avoid an accident. So what this is about is you haven't driven careful enough to avoid an accident. Okay, classic example is approaching a crossing, coming in way too fast and being unable to stop should someone want to step on. Coming up to a bad vision give way sign where it's a T or a cross. Again, coming in too fast and being unable to stop if someone is coming. And not reducing your speed with a hazard that might be in front. Now, hazard is a pretty general term, but this one probably means more. There might be some kids playing close to the side of the road, or it might be an animal there. Again, you're coming in too fast, unable to stop in case something goes wrong there. Okay, so the example I got here is I'm coming up to a really bad vision T intersection. So I've got to come down really, really slow so I'm able to stop. I've got to be very careful here, because if I come up too quick and I go and I won't be able to see someone coming in time, I won't be able to react in time. So if I do come up a bit fast here on my test, the examiner will give you the F9 fail item, not taking enough care to avoid an accident. Okay, so we've come to the end of this session on speed management and your New South Wales P1 driving test. We've looked at how an examiner assesses the positive and negative scores, the circle errors of the negative scores, in maintaining crash avoid space, reducing speed when necessary, and maintaining traffic flow. We've also looked at 3 fail items: the F5, exceeding the speed limit, F7, creating a dangerous situation, and the F9, fail to exercise due care to avoid an accident. Okay, guys, that's it. Speed management and the New South Wales P1 driving test. I want you guys to go out now and practice your speed management. Now, if you're a new viewer here, don't forget to press the subscribe button and also the notification bell to know when a new video is coming up. Also, if you can press the like button, that'd be really appreciated. Hope you guys enjoyed the new format video. So this is how I'll be doing a lot of them now. And always, don't forget, stay safe.